Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. This week is the beginning of a new major update, which means we've got the important headline banner featuring Grenshiel and Joa Conny. Like every headliner, this banner will run for the entire duration of the monthly cycle. As a two-person rate-up banner, technically, whenever you manage to get an SSR hero, it'll have a 40% chance of being either Grenshiel or Joa Conny, with the remaining 20% chance reserved for any random off-banner unit in the regular summoning pool. Alright, we might as well get things started with Grenshiel. Grenshiel is a bulky flying bruiser with an automatic faction buff for Strategic Masters. Kind of like an updated Ultimuller. He's this ancient old Langrisser character. Her talent gives her a bonus to her attack and defense when she fights enemies with less mobility than her, so obviously give her Breeze Enchants. She also gets some more bonuses if she ends her action in the danger zone, debuff immunity, adjacent enemies get reduced mobility, which helps trigger her stat bonuses, and a shield worth 25% of her hit points. Unlike some other one-and-done shields, she can trigger this one every other turn. Her 3-cost skill has a passive component and an active component. The active part is a single target attack that strips buffs, makes it so the target can't move or guard, and she gets first strike if the target isn't flying. The passive part is that faction buff I mentioned. It automatically triggers after she takes her first action, and then it tops itself back up whenever a Strategic Master's ally gets a kill. It gives plus 15% damage when attacking someone with less mobility. One of her unique skills is an AoE that reduces enemy mobility and activates a basic physical guard. Her unique 1-cost skill lets her apply a command aura to an empty tile, giving nearby allies bonus defensive stats and reducing nearby enemy mobility. But the most important part of this one is that it's also an act again skill. This is super important with her talent because she can use it from within the danger zone to activate all of her buffs without having to be a sitting duck for a turn before attacking. She's a member of Strategic Masters, buffed by Ultimuller, Lanford, and obviously herself, Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, and Origins of Light, buffed by Dehart, Jugler, and Freya. For bonds, she unlocks the defensive bonds for her upcoming brother, Sagni, and for the upcoming limited character, the Awakener. For her own bonds, she needs Adankelmo for her defensive bond and Azusa for her attack bond. For content, on the PvE side, she will be good in general run-of-the-mill PvE content. Mobile characters with good stats are good jobbers in PvE, and someone who can auto-cast a faction buff as part of an otherwise good skill are helpful because it saves you both a turn of setup and a skill slot. Plus, for all we know, her anti-mobility functionality may come in handy to help wall off enemies in some challenge sometime. On the PvP side, she's one of a long string of dominant must-summon characters. She's good in tank teams and in trade teams, and against tank teams and against trade teams. She's not a dominant killing machine who could do everything per se, but she's overall a very versatile unit, and that's why we're going to see her in pretty much every box for the next couple seasons. Alright, next up we have Joa Conny. Joa Conny are a dual unit, 2 for the price of 1. Conny is the main character, and Joa is her little bonus holographic AI companion. Conny is a long-range archer specializing in line attacks. In her preferred Tier 3 Archer class, she also has 5 mobility and flying movement type. Her 3-cost skill is a very strong physical line AoE that reduces enemy range and removes a couple of buffs. Plus, if Joa is in range, he also extends the AoE even further. She also has a single target line attack that allows her ranged soldiers to join in at long range, kind of like Sigma, and silences the target. Plus, she also has accelerated aid. Her talent boosts her attack and crit rate, and also summons Joa at the start of the battle. Since Joa is kind of a unit in his own right, he also has his own talent and set of skills. He can move through enemies, and considers all movable terrain to be plains, because he's a hologram. He has a hide skill, kind of like Epsilon's, where if he's at 100% HP, he can't be targeted by enemy skills or attacks. It's not a passive skill though, he actually has to cast this. He also has another long-range single-target attack similar to Conny's, and oh yeah, if Conny dies, he dies too. RIP. They're members of Strategic Masters, buffed by Altmuller, Landford, and Grenshiel, Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, and Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and Hilda. For bonds, they don't currently roadblock anyone else's bonds. They need Emperor Lavina to unlock their own defensive bond, and the Girl in the Shell to unlock their attack bond. For content, like any unit with good range and good mobility, they'll be a good jobber in general purpose PvE. They may do well in certain PvE challenges that require you to pelt stuff from far away, kind of like the plethora of Scepter of Divinity mage strategies. In PvP, they are perfectly functional, a decent unit. We're not actually used to this. We often get super OP characters, or characters that don't get play in PvP at all. Joa and Conny are a functional DPS side grade who can be good in certain matchups and bad in others. Build them if you like them, or if you get a bunch of copies while trying to summon Grenshiel, I guess. Or if you like sidekicks. To be honest, Global has a way of finding hidden value in characters that often get neglected in China, so they may see more use over here thanks to people like Vicelord and Lonebird. So speaking of noobs, let's move on to the notes for noobs. Grenshiel is a must-summon versatile bruiser with a faction buff. She's great in many comps in PvP, and she's pretty decent in PvE as well. I think she'd be a fun character to build a team around. She looks fun. Joa and Conny are a bit more niche, but still good. To be perfectly honest, I probably wouldn't go nuts trying to summon for them specifically, but if you do get a couple copies, you don't need to feel sad. Finally, just my usual reminder about upcoming banners, and we do have a couple of interesting but not exactly essential banners coming up for the remainder of this month. The featured Destiny banner is, appropriately enough, a Strategic Masters banner featuring Ironblood Commander, Toa, and Landford. Landford is seeing a bit of a resurgence in Ancient Beckoning these days, and Toa is kind of a perennial useful unit in different PvE challenges. Ironblood Commander is of course really good, so that'll be an interesting banner if you're missing any of those characters. The featured raid-up banner this month will be Ricky and Ares. The recurring banners during the final week are Archon of the Moon, Virash, and Knight of Mystery, and Liana, Luna, and Bozel. So lots of Strategic Masters units to go around. Anyway, that covers this month's banners, and we're just starting to move into the tail end of the current epic season of summoning. So let's briefly remember what we have to look forward to. Next month's update should be the next Trails collab with Agnes and Elaine and the free SSR character Van, assuming we get that on schedule, and I have been assuming that. The month after that is the launch of the next limited Watham-like banner featuring the excellent Awakener, who is a pain to deal with. The month after that, keeping things in the family, we will have a banner with Amadeus and Sagni, which are Grenshiel's father and brother respectively. We'll hint at their utility in a bit more detail in upcoming episodes. No reason to really get into things now. So that's it for this episode. Let us know in the comments below or on the Tone Discord whether you're summoning here and what kind of luck you ended up having. I'll be summoning for 1 copy of each, maybe trying to get multiple Grenshiels if I feel like pushing my luck. I believe you need 4 copies plus a few rainbow shards if you want her to reach 6 stars before playoffs, but that's not exactly going to be relevant for this guy. Probably something that's more important to me is making sure I have enough summons to get multiple copies of the Awakener. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I wish you all the best of luck in your summons, and I will catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Derek, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, and Harambe. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. It really does help.